Welcome to Beyond the Frontline podcast, where your hosts, U.S. Air Force veterans Donna Hoffmeyer and Jay Johnson, will help you transition from the front line to the home front. Listen every other Wednesday as they will bring great conversations, resources, tips, and feel-good stories that will resonate and relate. Now, here's your hosts, Donna Hoffmeyer and Jay Johnson.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Front Line. This is Jay Johnson, and for the first time in our 2-year series history, I am doing this thing alone. My co-host, my partner in crime, and the one that you're used to hearing me refer to as the queen bee of this podcast, Donna Hoffmeyer, is traveling today. She's actually heading up to Virginia and meeting with our executive producer, if you will, our director. She's meeting with Cindy from our parent podcast, Coming Home Well. It's a good trip for Donna, and I just wanted you to know why you're not going to be entertained by having her presence with us today. But you're stuck with me, and I think you're going to find a ton of value inside of this episode. You know, Donna and I do our diligence trying to bring things of relevance to the veteran community. And we love to say to all of you listening that it's not just for veterans and about veterans. I think there's information inside of the content we bring you each and every session that is, quite frankly, for anyone who may face challenges in life or just want access to more information to aid their personal growth and development, maybe their professional growth and development. So if you're listening, if you're checking us out and following us, you know, look, just a selfish ask, but I would say, man, share it with others. Let them tune into us. I was at a luncheon yesterday here in the San Antonio area. The room had 13 different mayors in the room and city council members, and then just business professionals. And one of the city council members from a nearby city came up, someone I know, and we were talking briefly, and he said, Jay, I just want you to know that your podcast is in my ear daily when I'm out exercising. He said, I've got a lot of catching up to do, but I love what y'all are doing. And I don't say any of that to impress. I say it to impress upon you. There's relevance inside the information that we bring you. And maybe when you're listening, and if you go, I don't know if this topic is necessarily something that intrigues me or compels me or serves me in a particular way. Here's the thought. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's for someone else, though, that you know. I love to say we all have circles of influence that we operate within, and you never know with what you pick up, whether it's from here or whether you pick it up from the amazing guest I'm going to be introducing you to here momentarily. You never know when you pick information up how you might be in a conversation and somebody express a need and you're able to equip them. You're able to share something that you learned. You're able to steer them back to a resource, back to an individual that can help them in some way. So we're thankful. We're thankful for all of you that are tuning in and listening to what we're doing. This has been a fun journey for us. And I think, again, you're going to really, really enjoy the individual that I'm privileged to get to interview for this podcast episode, and just let you get a glimpse into the amazing work that he and his team are out there doing to impact the lives of veterans and others. So without further ado, I just want to say hello to Carnell Smith Jr., a.k.a. War Dog, Sergeant War Dog. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, how you doing, Jay? I'm doing great over here, bro.
I know that's true. I always like to say, Sergeant War Dog, our listeners don't get the benefit of what Donna and I normally get. Today, I get the benefit of actually seeing your smiling face, you know, on the screen. But I love your energy, man. I'm an intuitive kind of guy, and I feed off the energy of others, and I can tell you've got good energy.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. Right on.
All good stuff. Hey, Sergeant War Dog, we're gonna have a good time today. We're gonna really tap into who you are, what drives you, the kinds of things we're into today. But let me give our audience just a little brief glimpse. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So listen again, Carnell Smith Jr., Sergeant War Dog. He is in Florida and leads an amazing organization out there doing good things for people. He's on every different social media platform you can think of. Sergeant War Dog TV is a great one to track him down on, but he's on Instagram. He's on X, what was formerly known as Twitter. Got his own website. He is a United States Marine Corps veteran. I'm just going to insert there. I feel like I say this anytime I'm in the room with a devil dog, a fellow brother in arms, a Marine in particular. There's no one I want with me more when stuff is not going right than a Marine. Now,
All right.
It's true. You know it's true. I'm an Air Force guy, got some weapons training in my background, but nothing like what you have. And I said to Sergeant War Dog at the start when we were just having a little banter before officially stepping into this episode, I said, man, I've started watching some of what you're putting out there. I'm learning, and there's a lot more that I can learn. So I'm excited about that. But Sergeant War Dog is married. He's got a bride, a couple daughters. So he's a husband. He's a father. He's a veteran. He's got a book that just got picked up, hasn't been released yet, but it will soon. We're going to talk to him about that book. And look, I'm just honored. I'm honored to have you here. He's a three-time combat war veteran. In fact, when I was looking at your bio and information, Sergeant War Dog, day one, right? Day one in March 2003, boots on the ground.
That's right.
In Iraq, man. That's
right.
That's real. All right, that's real. So we're going to talk about that. So without further ado, everybody, again, Sergeant War Dog, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to join me in studio today.
Awesome. I appreciate you inviting me, Jay. This is a great experience.
Yeah, for us, I promise, and for our listeners. So let's get a little background, okay? I just did a very high level. I know I didn't do diligence at all. Where'd you grow up? What was the impetus, if you will, that led you to the Marine Corps? Let's just hit those basics first.
Okay. I am from Orlando, Florida, and I happened to develop a passion. I mean, a deep, deep passion for SWAT teams and protecting people. So when I was 17 or 18, I was doing well academically. I did receive academic scholarship offers and all, but I had to prove to myself that I could make it in the Marine Corps infantry. I just had to. I can't put words to it. My mother was upset that I wanted to choose the Marines over college, but I had to prove to myself that I could run with who I thought were the big dogs.
Are the big dogs, right? I'm just going to call it out there. That's not denigrating or putting any of the other service members in the back seat, right? They're not. Right. I think you guys are warriors, men and women, and very, very thankful for you. Let me ask you a quick question. When you said that, had to prove to yourself, what was it? What was it that maybe felt like you were, was it, let me phrase it in a different way. Was it that you felt you were lacking something, or was it more just about achieving something that you perceive to be, a really large challenge?
It was both, actually. I knew, being a guy from Orlando, being from Mickey Mouse Town, that I was a city guy. Yeah. I spend my time mostly in urban environments, but I didn't like that about myself. I wanted to have survival skills under my belt as well. I wanted to, fully embrace all the different aspects that are required to being a Marine, from running to hand-to-hand fighting to lifting weights or shooting guns. I wanted to be a well-rounded operator, and I felt that if I made it to the Corps, I would attain, all the skills and the entire skill set that would allow me to save lives in, the most crucial times of an emergency.
Yeah. How old were you when you joined the Corps?
I was 18.
Okay.
Yes.
And Where'd you do your basic at?
I went to Parris Island, just like Full Metal Jacket. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's the
sir.
image. That's the image, right? Sorry, War Dog. That's the image most of us have when we think of Marine Corps. We think of Full Metal Jacket. That's true.
Yes, I have the Full Metal Jacket experience under my belt. So.
I bet you did. Hey, what was your MOS? If I remember right, you were infantry, right? I think somewhere
That's
on one
right.
of your sites I read you said, "Hey, I was a grunt."
That's right. That's right. I'm very proud to say that I was an 0311 infantry rifleman and that I was a grunt in the infantry. I can't put enough words to the fact of how much I looked up to these guys because I looked at them as I told you I had a passion for SWAT teams. So I looked at infantry guys or special operators as SWAT team plus, because they have the ability to survive, in different conditions and countries and whatnot as well. So I just looked at them as the highest tier of a SWAT team that I could get to.
Yeah, that's amazing. What if you had to share with everybody your experience kind of going into that then? Well, you said I had to prove to myself, I wanted to be challenged, I wanted to have this huge accomplishment under my belt. What part did you find maybe was easy? That's probably not if there is such a word, going through that kind of environment, that kind of training. What came easier to you, and then what challenged you when you're in that environment?
All right. What came easy was dealing with the yelling and the Marines in your face and for me, I was a high school football player, so the Marines was kind of like just having a football coach with guns. That's the way that's the way I felt about it. So
Yeah.
I was already well equipped to deal with the language and the in your face stuff and that part. So I was okay there. But I have to admit, as an infantryman, I was not used to hiking.
Oh.
Nothing about me thinking about SWAT teams ever. Never did I envision the actual act of hiking with, a 100-pound backpack and going up steep hills or going up, any kind of difficult terrain.
Yeah.
So I was truly, truly mind blown when I got to the Marines and I found out, oh, okay, I have to learn to do 20-mile hikes.
I was going to ask you how long the hikes were, right? I was going to say, we talking 5 milers? What are we talking? And you said,
yeah, I had to really wrap my mind around that. I was like, what does this have to do with SWAT?
So 100-pound ruck, 20-mile hikes, fully geared up, right? Boots, different than being out in athletic shoes. They ever put you through scenarios where you also had to do a combat carry a buddy, right? To also do that experience?
Yes.
You had all that. So.
Especially as we prepared to go to Iraq and all. That became the norm to make sure we knew how to take care of our fellow Marines.
Yeah. Well, what's that old saying, Sergeant War Dog, right? I know you and I both heard it, and I believe to the core of my being, I bet we still guide our life this way, right? Sweat more in peace, bleed less in war, right? So put the work in. Put the work in. You can't prepare for everything, but rather than coast on the front end and then get yourself in some bad situations, they put you through the rigors at Parris Island, probably through your MOS training. MOS is what I would call it. Is that what is the
yes?
Yeah, MOS.
Yes, that's a correct. Okay. I was the 0311 MOS infantry rifleman.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. So yeah, all that prepared you. So here you are. You're now fully badge carrying Marine, stationed where? Where was your duty assignment? Your first duty assignment?
I was in the Mojave Desert of Southern California in a city called 29 Palms, California.
Yeah, I've never been. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
So you're at 29 Palms, and then a warning order comes, right? Prepared to deploy.
That's right. That's right.
Talk to me about that, Sergeant War Dog, real quick. I try to put our listeners in kind of the mindset. Again, I know it's been 20 years now, and it probably feels like a blink of an eye, to you. But so, wow, 20 and a half years ago, at this point, right?
Right.
You and your colleagues, you're gearing up to go. Where was your mind? What were you thinking about in that moment? I bet mom wasn't happy.
No, mom wasn't happy for a couple reasons. Most specifically, mom wasn't happy because I'm an only child.
Uh,
So
that's
the
different.
fact,
Yeah.
right, the fact that I joined the infantry totally made her livid. The fact that I, wanted to, as a matter of fact, she wouldn't sign the Marine Corps papers for me when I was 17. She
Oof.
was that upset. So I had to wait until I was 18 and went ahead and took care of it myself. But in terms of being ready for war, I remember specifically seeing troops building up in Kuwait. And I was wondering, like, man, is that going to be us too? And within a week of seeing the news of other uh, military members starting to deploy to Kuwait in preparation for our Operation Iraqi Freedom, I too got the order with the
Mm.
rest of the 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines out of 29 Palms, California. We got our orders to proceed to Kuwait as well and to be one of the infantry units that were going to get the job done.
Yeah. And did you on your this is just for personal knowledge, right? Our listeners get to take in on this, but this is for me. Did you pass through Italy on your way to Kuwait, or what was your route into Kuwait?
The route to Kuwait was from California to JFK Airport in New York to Frankfurt, Germany, actually.
Okay. Okay.
It's Frankfurt, Germany, then Kuwait.
Okay. I asked that because I was at the time stationed at Aviano Air Base, northern Italy, and we had a lot of our servicemen and women, Marine Corps and Army, passing through
Okay.
Aviano on their way in, right? And I was volunteering my time as we were receiving them on the weekend to go down there, man, just to shake their hand, serve them coffee, right? Get them food.
Awesome.
And I remember, Sergeant War Dog, the reason I'm sharing this, I remember, right, there were some that were a little older, and even though they were well trained and ready to go do our nation's bidding, every one of them, I could see that in their eyes, I could hear it in their voice. Some of them actually also understood the gravity of it, right? That this is no
Right.
joke. This is no joke. So it touched me in a profound way. I just tried to love on them as best I could. We had cameras, digital cameras. We were getting photos with them, and I was getting email addresses, and I was sending emails back to their loved ones at home with their photo, right? To say, just want to let you know that your loved one, your son, your daughter, your husband, your whatever, mom, sister, passed through Aviano. We had a chance to connect. They're doing
All
good. And I
right.
just wanted you to know they're okay, right? But anyway, so
That's
when
awesome.
when I asked you that, I was thinking, how ironic will this be if you said, "No, man, we did. We went through Aviano." I thought, what would the chances have been that I could have maybe patted you on the back and told you I was praying for you and wishing you all well, because it wasn't lost on me. I think a lot of those men and women, I was really worried about whether or not we'd get them home safe, right?
Right. That is very honorable of you to do that.
Well, I
Thank you.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't want to tell the story for that reason. I just wanted to convey, right? I think it's lost, Sergeant War Dog. I think it's lost on the American public at large. Not those of us that have worn the uniform. We get it, right? But I think it is widely lost. People say things like, "But you chose to do that." Well, okay, yeah, I did. But nonetheless, the things that we endure, the things that we experience, right? They just don't happen in a box, in a confined way that once it's over, that stuff's behind us and we never think on it again. To your point, I think part of your mission, and we're gonna get to that here shortly, of what you're doing, it's because those that have seen and done the things in particular that you and your fellow Marines experienced, you can't just bottle that up and put it away. It's with you. It becomes who you are.
Right. Definitely. I
Yeah.
can't put enough words to that.
Yeah. Okay. So you and your colleagues, you arrive in Iraq, and then two subsequent tours after that. I think 03, 04, 05.
That's right.
Yeah, that
That's
you were
right.
you were over there. How long were your tours when you were over there in the combat environment?
Between 7 and 10 months.
Wow.
And I ended up turning 19, 20, and 21 in the war, day to day, in the war. And I have to admit, being there for the very first day of a war is surreal on a movie level. That's the only way I could describe it. I'm not one of those guys who gets into joking about the other branches or anything, because I have honestly been helped, taken care of, or saved by every branch that we have. The Air Force in particular, as an infantry guy, I cannot thank the Air Force enough for the precision guided bombing that they are able to do to make things easier for the guys on the ground, in terms of softening up a target and just making it a little more manageable for a grunt on the ground to do things. So I had the bombing from the Air Force helped. The Marines get their medics, our corpsmen. We get our corpsmen from the Navy. They're actually attached to the infantry units. I was even in a 14-hour firefight once with the Army, with some of their ODA, Operational Detachment Alpha guys. So every branch, I'm not one of those guys that knocks the other branches or jokes, because they seriously helped me. I was even given special food from the Air Force, which was a blessing, because at the time in Baghdad, we weren't able to be resupplied with food because we were so far ahead of, the element that was behind us that had, food and ammo and all. Yeah. So, like I said, every branch has helped me, and it's meant the world.
I love hearing you say that. I do have pride from being an Air Force guy, but, all of that being said, I know it's one team, one fight. Just some, right? Some are a lot closer.
Right.
To where everything's going down than others. And so it's not lost on me. I was deployed to Kuwait, Sergeant War Dog, in 2008. I was over there for 8 months. And although I never went into Iraq, the Air Force at that point had the convoy resupply mission for all of Iraq. So they would cross in from that Kuwaiti border, travel up to northeastern part of Iraq, hitting all the FOBs and supplying and equipping them. And I would go out there. They would often leave, about 4:00 in the morning to make this trek. They had a lot of contract personnel with them too, but I would get out there and love on them before they went on their missions. And on some occasions, vehicles would come back after, being hit by an IED, or hitting an IED, probably better stated. And man, you get to see what's real. If I was to ask you, so you were a man at 18 joining the Marine Corps. Then you said, hey, I turned 19, 20, and 21 in theater. Probably a lot changed in you, I would think, in those 3 years in all of that. What do you take away from all of that experience more than anything else, Sergeant War Dog? Your time with your colleagues, you personally, what you walk away with from all of that?
I actually feel like I walked away with an immense respect for what it takes to be a ground operator. A lot of people think that the military is one-sided, like all we know are guns, but to be a true operator, you have to know so much more. Everything from being possibly chemically attacked to, being in shape with running, being able to do hand-to-hand fighting if your situation gets there, being able to understand culture, understand, how you're going to interact with the populace. Those are my major insights and takeaways, because I was always like, man, this is really what's required. I was like, going to Iraq once, okay, that was required. Going again, that's really what's required. And then going a third time, is that really what's required for this job? And I learned the hard answer is yes. That's what it takes. That's what the duty calls for. And you do your job. Now, I'm sorry, I actually want to note We were the unit during my first tour in Iraq. We were the first wave of Marines to reach Baghdad.
Wow.
So we were the ones that pulled Saddam's statue down in front of CNN and all.
I remember watching it.
Yeah, and that was a pretty amazing sight to be there, surrounded by thousands and thousands of Iraqis, and to see them celebrating their liberation and whatnot. At that time during the war, it was really an amazing thing to be able to experience.
I can't imagine. I remember watching it on TV. Certain War Dog, you're there live, but the Iraqis even taking off their shoes and saying,
"That's right."
Doesn't that mean something like it's the ultimate sign of
disrespect? That's right. Yeah. It's saying you're lower than the dirt I walk on. To show the bottom of their shoe or to touch something with the bottom of their shoe is that ultimate disrespect of saying you're lower than the ground I walk on. Yeah. So whenever they were hitting that statue with their shoes or throwing shoes at it, we totally understood that that was their way of celebrating and displaying their disgust for Saddam.
Yeah. Couple things you said, Sergeant War Dog. I don't let me put words in your mouth, right? But putting it in my own words of what I felt like you shared a little while ago when I asked you what was your biggest takeaway. And it sounds like human dynamics, right? Like you said, I didn't understand all these complexities of different things. So
right.
Yeah. And then when you said, man, to go one time was surreal, but then to go a second, third time, because that's what was required. Was it tougher? Was it tougher to go the second time, the third time, because of what you had already experienced the first time? Or did it become more about, man, I've got experience that, I'm going to be able to share and pass on to others?
The only part that I found tougher was knowing that I was going to be under that constant threat of death again. I mean, when I returned from that first time in Iraq, I was like, whoo, okay, I will never have to worry about possibly being killed 24 hours of every day, for however long. So when it happened again, I was like, oh man, I'm in this environment again where I have to actually, every second truly counts. I have to be on the lookout for my livelihood every single second. Yeah. And it also brought a seriousness to me, to be honest with you. It brought a seriousness to me about life, about using the time you have wisely to enjoy every moment that you have, to enjoy the time you have with your family. That was really a big character builder and character teacher for me.
Yeah. That still sit with you today?
Yes.
Are you able to? So I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about keeping your mental edge, your sharpness about you in that environment because of the risk that was there. But then when I hear you say, gosh, I walk away with this deeper appreciation for life and relationships and on, is that's still profound to you today?
Yes. Oh yes. No one ever needs to say to me or explain to me that life is short or that life is too short. No one ever, with my experiences, no one ever needs to go into the details of, hey, utilizing your time wisely while you have it. Because I know that, I know for a fact that time is not, something that can be easily wasted or should be easily wasted.
Yeah.
I want to add also, it was during my first tour, as we were crossing a bridge to enter Baghdad, my photo was taken in a book with a dead Iraqi man right beside me.
Wow.
So it's been weird to know that I felt I never really needed to prove anything about what I did in the war, because there's always that picture in a book. The book is entitled "The War in Iraq: A Photo History." Okay. It's available on Amazon. But my picture's in that book, as I said, carrying the M249 squad automatic weapon. So I was carrying a machine gun, running on this bridge and running past an Iraqi man. And this was not just an average Iraqi man. This was someone who was former military, who changed into civilian clothes, and who actually had a bandolier strapped around his chest with some explosives. So just that moment of knowing what he was trying to do to us or what we were capable of, knowing that the photojournalists from Time Magazine and the San Francisco Chronicle and the other publications that were attached to us, that they were able to catch that moment, has always been really surreal to me. I mean, I've been walking around since I was a 19-year-old knowing, hey, I'm in a book with a dead body beside me.
Yeah, yeah. Not something that any one of us in life ever expect to experience, and certainly don't seek to have that, occur in our life. And yet you talk about what I took away listening to you just then, Sergeant War Dog. I was thinking this was, again, a part that people don't understand. We as a standing army, right, meaning all the services, as a standing armed forces, we do our best by and large to conduct ourselves in a very professional way, abiding by the law of armed conflict and all these different things. But we've come to find in all these engagement, that's not necessarily what we are fighting against, right? And it's tough to discern who is and who isn't out there trying to cause harm and injure others, and who is a combatant. Right. And so you describing that, here's somebody who changed in civilian clothes yet still had military, weaponry. Man, tough for me to even contemplate how you navigate those days, day in and day out, when you're talking with people.
Right. I have to admit also, I have so much respect for our unified respect of the Geneva Conventions. Yeah. People think that when you go to a war, everything's just wide open and you're shooting at anything and everything, but you aren't, and we don't. And I'm proud to say that America does not just go out and bomb mosques or hospitals or things that are really relevant to the infrastructure of a country. We go out of our way, and the defense contractors that we work with and the weapons that they make, everyone goes out of their way to ensure that the loss of civilian life is very minimal. And I'm proud to say that our military does that. And I got to see it firsthand on numerous occasions. Yeah. The only problem is the enemy. The enemy does not respect the Geneva Convention. So they know we don't attack schools. Where do they put all their weapons? In the schools. They know we don't attack ambulances. So what do they use to try to, travel around in to attack us? Ambulances, or they would shoot at us from the mosque, that sort of thing. And we normally primarily don't ever try to attack religious institutions or anything like that. So just knowing that we were going out of our way to not be marauders and trying to take over everything and destroy everything, to know that America cares that much, even in the crux of combat, it was really, really eye-opening and impressive to me.
Yeah, Sergeant War Dog, I'm glad that came out, right? This is kind of in the news today with conflicts going on in parts of the world, right? Over in Ukraine, over in the Gaza Strip, and we hear these things, but it really is true. It doesn't make us perfect. It doesn't mean that mistakes don't happen, right? But we really do our diligence. I believe that as a professional fighting force and all volunteer force today, we do go out of our way to try to exercise prudence in the way we conduct operations. I love that you hit that. I think it's true. It breaks my heart a little bit, Sergeant War Dog, when I'm a history kind of nut. I study history. I love reading books on history, particularly, the armed forces and combat ops. And I think it's a shame how much blood this amazing country that you and I call home has spilt on behalf of other nations and their causes, and then how quickly we can be forgotten or left alone. And I'm not saying by all, but certainly it'd be nice to look to our right, to look at our left, and who's standing in front of us and behind us, of friends and allies who understand how much we've put on the line on their behalf. And all we want is them to stand with us.
That's right. That's all we're looking for. Just get in the grass with us. That's all we're looking for.
Get in the grass with us. I love that. That's a great way of saying it. Well, look, let's talk about when did you get out? At what point did you leave the Corps? And then did you dabble in anything for a little while outside of the Corps before you jumped into this endeavor that you're doing today, where you're helping veterans with traumatic brain injury and PTSD, and maybe even, not maybe even, I know, veteran homelessness and other things that we know veterans face? Talk to me about your transition from the Corps into what you're doing today.
Sure. So after my time in the Corps, I actually went straight to college. I mean, so in order to get my mother off my back and to let her know, yeah, to let
Mom's
her
happy to
know,
have you home. Your mission's not done. Yeah.
right, to let her know that I did still care a whole lot about education and all. And I knew that to be the type of federal operator I wanted to be for any of the federal agencies, I knew I needed to combine all that combat experience with a degree if I really wanted to be able to, have my choice of which agency I could join. So I attended the University of Central Florida in Orlando. I majored in international relations. And while I was going to UCF, I was actually keeping my security clearance active by working overnight armed security for Lockheed Martin, the defense contractor. So they have a facility in Orlando, their missile and fire control facility. I was able to be a part of the security team there overnight. So I was attending school full time during the day. I couldn't sleep from the war. So the best option I had was to work overnight and, still be able to utilize my skill set in that way, and for a defense contractor of all places. So I was able to go through school, continue gaining private security experience. But then I have to be honest with you, Jay.
Okay.
I got hit in the face with a ton of bricks in the terms of flashbacks and memories. For some reason, during my senior year in undergrad, everything that I had forgotten about suddenly came back, and it flooded me. And I didn't know how to deal with it, to be honest with you. I didn't know how to handle it all. I was overwhelmed. I didn't realize that my emotions were still so linked to things like certain smells or fireworks, or I had no idea that that I would end up struggling with PTSD, to be honest with you. And when it happened, it just broke my heart. It felt like, man, what's wrong with me? How could I go from this great infantry Marine to now dealing with things that I thought I could just get over with mind over matter? But PTSD is a much stronger and much more massive beast than I ever thought it was. So I actually had to be hospitalized, Jay.
Oh.
I had to be hospitalized several times because I got suicidal.
Yeah.
Once I got to college and then I learned that the UN didn't want us to go into Iraq, that inflicted a deep moral injury for me, because I took that personal as saying, man, so if we weren't supposed to go in, does that mean that the Iraqis were actually justified in firing at me, and were justified in things that happened? And it was just a very big mind-boggling situation to try to wrap my head around all of that. So I struggled with PTSD, was hospitalized, and for the next 10 years, I jumped on a regimen of medication and counseling, and I jumped on a path of 10 years of being stagnant. Wow. I mean, I was still doing my thing as far as being a father, being a suburban dad, and being a husband, but I had no inkling to do anything else.
Yeah,
I was really kind of stuck for about 10 years until 2018. When 2018 came around, I finally went out to camp for the first time since being out of the Marine Corps. And something about being there and camping and having my gun with me again reminded me that I actually was good at something. I forgot how easily I know how to, put up a tent or set up a perimeter or set up a campsite. My only issue was I didn't know how to camp and have fun, because the only camping that I had ever done was under war and tactical circumstances. So once I got, into the spirit of camping, I then jumped into hunting wild hogs, and I got my hunting license and all, because you can still utilize your night vision and thermal vision equipment that you would use you were in Iraq or Afghanistan while you're hunting wild hogs. So even that brought me right back into like knowing that, hey, this is something I've been trained to do. This is something I was taught to do. I know this. This is home. This is my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I eventually started to take a GoPro out with me. But I did it not to record footage. I did it so that my daughters and my wife would know if anything happened to me, because I was going into pretty remote areas by myself.
Yeah, in one of your videos, I don't mean to step on you, and just for our listeners, if you're, for whatever reason, jumped into this podcast midstream or something, I am in studio today with Carnell Smith Jr., a.k.a. Sergeant War Dog. That's who you should know him by. That's how he's branded and how you're going to get to connect with him out there. But in one of your videos I was watching, man, you go out into like the marsh, the Everglade kind of stuff, and you're doing some real stuff.
Yeah. Because as foreign as the locations are, to me, it feels just like being in the war again. I mean, you're on locations unknown,
There's stuff out there that can hurt you.
Right.
If you're not paying attention.
Definitely. And that's what I needed, though. I needed that challenge, survival challenge, to really get my creative juices going. Yeah. I needed that challenge of being out in places like that. So I went from carrying a GoPro to starting a YouTube channel to starting my own podcast called The War Dog Trail. I wrote a book about my experiences in Iraq.
What's the book called?
The book is also called The War Dog Trail.
Okay.
Which is I named it the same name as the podcast, so it'd be easier to find and to establish a platform. It highlights my 3 tours in Iraq as an infantry rifleman, as a grunt. I give you the nitty-gritty details from going on boat missions with Marine Corps snipers to being in a 14-hour firefight with the assistance of the Army. I lay it all out. I lay out my struggles with PTSD. And then the land that I ended up buying back in 2018, I got the idea to turn that into a homeless veterans camp.
I saw this, Sergeant War Dog, on your website, certainly. So you do something called Camp War Dog, I think, right?
Oh, Camp Doghouse.
Oh, that's Camp Doghouse. Thank you. Camp Doghouse. I saw that, one of your missions is you want to help those that, regardless, I think you said on your site, like an indefinite term, whatever you want it to be for yourself, to be able to know you can go off grid and have all the skills you need to be able to survive and thrive.
Right. Camp Doghouse can be found at campdoghouse.org.
There we go.
It's actually my idea of a homeless shelter that is in a camp setting that is conducive to veterans. So in the Central Florida area, or specifically Orlando, if I can find any homeless veteran who doesn't mind being in an outdoor camp setting, I want to let them know, hey, I have a place for you. I'm in the process of trying to acquire RVs and campers. Because what I want to do is get 5 to 10 campers and put 2 men. I'm sorry, and I can only accommodate men for right now.
Yeah.
I would like to get 5 to 10 campers, put 2 men in each, and then that'll give me between 10 and 20 men that I'm helping to come off the streets and to really use the camp as a platform to get the rest of their lives together and in whatever way they would like to. So I'm trying the process of setting things up so that they can be able to get transportation to work, to doctor's appointments with the VA, that sort of thing, and then come back to the camp. And then at the camp, we will always be holding, PTSD educational sessions. I experienced the TBI myself, and I have to wear hearing aids because of it. So it's really big on me to look after individuals that are suffering from PTSD and TBI that might have fallen down on hard times in the civilian life, because I realize how destructive the war could be towards someone's psyche.
Some of these things, Sergeant War Dog, you've got first-hand life experience with this. Number one, let me just say, I appreciate your vulnerability, right? I don't think we help anyone, and I don't think we help ourselves when we deny what's really going on with us, right? And your authenticity when you said, Jay, man, I get home, I'm in school, right, doing what my mom had originally had this dream and vision for me, and you had the desire to do it too, but then you said out of nowhere, right, this hits you, and you start having these flashbacks and these memories, and you sought help for yourself, or if somebody guided you, whoever it was, thank God for you, thank God for them, but you went and got treatment. And we have a horrible problem in this country, Sergeant War Dog. You know this better than any, because this is what you're doing day in and day out, trying to help. We have a lot of veterans who are unsheltered, right, who are homeless, and maybe some of it ties back to their own experiences and their inability to get past some of those things. Right. Maybe it's just bad circumstances, bad choices, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They're still worthy of our love, our time, our attention. So you're out there now thinking of this idea, and you're starting to put things in place to bring it to fruition. What's your long-term vision with this even? What are you hoping to be able to achieve?
I would like to make Camp Doghouse basically my legacy. I want it to extend for the rest of my life. I want to always be able to go to some individuals, some veterans that have are homeless and have been through things, and let them know, hey, if you don't mind living in a camp setting, I have a place for you. I have Wi-Fi, I have power, I have TVs and whatnot, and we're out off grid. We can ride in four-wheelers, we can hunt, we can camp, we can fish, and you can also be surrounded by other war veterans. Because the one thing that I've found the most is that the only person that truly understands a war veteran is another war veteran. Yeah. That's something I've come to learn over these years.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, right? Again, we go back to this unsheltered population of veterans, homeless. If they're willing to be semi-austere a little bit, right? I mean, there's some provisions in there, some modern day luxuries. I love you talking about Wi-Fi, TV, things to recreate. That's good. But if they're willing to go join you at Camp Doghouse, they can be surrounded by like-minded individuals. I think there's therapy in that, right? There, you said no one knows what it's like to have had those experiences like another veteran who's been to war.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man, that's amazing. So what's your biggest need, Sergeant War Dog? What for our listeners who are tuning in, you talked about your website earlier. We talked about War Dog TV. They can go out and start getting a feel for who you are, seeing the mission you're championing. What's the greatest need? How can people who are listening get involved? How can they help support you and the team?
They can visit campdoghouse.org and make a donation, and whether it's a financial or products or food or anything like that. Trying to have Camp Doghouse as a fully running veterans shelter and veterans camp. It's going to be funded by grants primarily. As a 501c3 nonprofit, it'll be primarily funded by grants, but the help will always come in the form of any type of donation that the public wouldn't mind contributing towards helping homeless veterans get their lives back in order.
Yeah. Did I see it right on one of your sites? Like I said, I went to several of your different social media channels. And again, for our listeners, he can be found, his organization can be found across all the platforms. I think I saw them all listed. Did I see shirts even on one of the sites?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. All right. Ultimately, I would also, in addition to the camp and everything else, remember it started off as Sergeant War Dog TV, just going out into the woods. So I honestly want to have my own outdoor hunting channel one day. I want it to be a hybrid of military content and hunting and outdoor content. But that is my ultimate goal, is to have the camp. And then while I'm not at the camp, I want to have my own show where I get to go out and hunt, deer, elk, wild hogs. I want to make some safaris into Africa a few times.
Wow.
So everything is still geared around trying to have a web series and trying to be on the major outdoor network television shows, to get them to see, like, hey, you got a pretty wild Marine over here who loves to get after it. Let's entertain people, and let's do some military things, some hunting things, and let's just have a good time.
Man, I'm telling you right now, any of our listeners that may have a connection, right? Maybe you're operating in that industry. I'm telling you, you're not going to find a better human being who has a passion. You even used that word at the beginning as we're stepping into this. You said, I have a passion for this stuff. And it comes through, Sergeant War Dog. It comes through. Listen, any of you listening that are in that industry that can help make connections, right? I love saying this, Sergeant War Dog, when I'm talking to people, I'm like, man, your job isn't to sell me. When I'm talking about the business I do and I'm talking to others, your job isn't to sell me. But I sure do appreciate an introduction, right? Because no one will sell me like I will. No one will sell you like you will. Your passion comes through. So if you're a listener and you can even make an introduction to somebody that can help further Sergeant War Dog's cause, all that you hear him talking about, even from these hunting, you do some fishing too. I mean, you've got kind of a pretty broad outdoor.
Yeah. I try to get after it. We're in four wheelers. We're camping. We're hunting. We're fishing. We're hiking. I try to encompass the outdoors in full if I can.
No alligator wrestling, right? You're in Florida. Tell me you're not getting in the water, man, checking out your mad martial arts skills against reptilian.
Okay, I will admit, I have screws in my back from the war, so I'm not supposed to do anything involving alligators. But I did go ahead and get the alligator qualification on my hunting license.
Did you really?
That way, I'm at least able to be the one that shoots the alligator.
I got you.
I'm not licensed to be the boat operator, but I am licensed to be the shooter.
Okay. I thought we were getting ready to get into, can't confirm nor deny, but maybe he's getting ready to confirm that he's actually wrestled an alligator. We'll keep that. That's still classified. That's classified. We can't talk about that. I love it. Hey, let's talk about this real quick, Sergeant War Dog. Let's talk about the veteran experience right now. You've already had people that you've been able to take out and recreate and help them heal in some way, through your own experience and now working with them. Any fun stories, any big wins, you don't have to share names, but you had some just really amazing moments that stand out that you can maybe share where you've really helped another veteran.
Yes, I've had some times where guys have come out with me and they'll say, wow, this is what I needed. I didn't know that this is what was missing. That, I needed, they work and live in urban environments. So for them to say, wow, I have not been this truly happy, and I did not know that I was missing this part of my life, and that this is still entwined with my identity, that, we're involved in like reuniting them with themselves in a way. That was probably the biggest takeaway that I had, is for them to know that the reason, you might have felt odd or different like I did is because the outdoors have been a part of your life, of your career for so long. And once you go to the civilian world, you're probably not going out and doing, obviously, the type of things that you were doing with your service. You're not in the same environments. So whatever, whatever it was that sparked happiness inside of you while you were doing your job in the military. I feel that's missing and lacking, obviously, out here on the civilian side. To me, I feel like it comes down to job satisfaction. That feeling that you get of job satisfaction, for an infantry guy or any type of operator, you can't get that job satisfaction, that same feeling from anything that you do in the civilian world, to me, unless it involves the outdoors. And so that's pretty much, what I took from the veterans that would tell me how much it helped them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're touching lives, and you're right. We may take for granted. Now, when we're in those kind of austere environments because someone else made us go do that, it's different now when you get to be the one to say, I want to go do this, right, and do this. Listening to you inferring a little bit, maybe not inferring even, but the camaraderie, the closeness that we have together when we're in some of those environments. And then you get back and thrust back out into the world. None of us were meant to do this alone, Sergeant War Dog. What do you think? I mean,
I totally agree. That was actually
sisterhood. Yeah.
That was actually one of my largest struggles, was because I mentioned that I'm an only child. So the only brothers and sisters I've truly known in this world were military people, were veterans. So anything involving another veteran, and I automatically feel I have another bro or another sister. I feel like I'm not alone anymore. And that was probably one of the hardest transitions and adjustments for me coming into the civilian world, was knowing that, man, I'm going from where I had a family of 30 Marines, a platoon. I had a platoon of brothers all the time, to now it's just me. And that was one of the most, alone feelings I could ever describe to you, Jay.
Yeah, alone is not a place to be, particularly when we're dealing with something, right? We need to be able to let others in, let others help us. And it's not easy always asking for help. I was thinking about that earlier, listening to your story, when you're talking about all these flashbacks started happening. You started suffering from the effects of PTSD. Man, here you are, a hardened guy that has accomplished a lot. Remember, back to the story, I wanted to do this to prove to myself. And you did, right? Noble reasons, noble service. So you get to that point and you think, man, I ought to be able to take care of this, right? I can do this on my own.
Right.
Maybe not.
Right. I'm a very big proponent of letting people know that I actually had to personally use the Veterans Crisis Line twice, and it probably saved my life. Now we have the digits 988 that you can use to, if you have any type of crisis. But even before 988 came into the picture, I actually had to use the crisis line twice. So I tell anyone, don't ever be ashamed nor afraid to use any of the veteran resources that are there, because that's what they're there for. And when you're in a time of complete mental chaos, that's what you need. That's what the resources are there for. And I'm happy to say that I'm one of the people that they truly helped.
Yeah. I thank God, right, for that. I thank you for your spirit, for who you are. Again, your transparency and just sharing part of the story, and for what you're doing today, man. It's heartwarming. It quite frankly makes me feel a little inadequate.
Oh no!
There's always more that we can do, right? And you are, man, you're touching lives right now and helping people heal, Sergeant War Dog, and I love that.
Right on. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, no, it's real. So listen, as we start to wrap up this interview with Carnell Smith Jr., again, aka Sergeant War Dog, and I didn't say this earlier, it's Sergeant SGT, separate word, War Dog, WARDAWG, so that you can make sure you're finding the right guy and the organization and the mission that's out there. What haven't we touched on, Sergeant War Dog? What did you come in today into the podcast being so gracious with your time? That was on your heart that maybe you wanted to share? Make sure you let others know that hasn't just organically come out in our conversation.
I really want to let individuals know that my entire story will soon be available in a book. Yes. Like I said, I finally, it took me about 4 years, because because thinking about the memories that I was writing about would actually make me sick to my stomach sometimes. So it made it difficult to, write the book as long as I needed it to be, because I had to embrace step for step, day for day, things that I had already been through. So I really would like everyone to know that myself and the entire story of the 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, 3-4 out of 29 Palms, California, is available and visible in the book, The War Dog Trail, the same name as the podcast.
Is it already released? Did I misspeak earlier when I said it's getting ready to be released, or has it already been released? Do I need to be running out there right now?
No, it hasn't been released.
Okay.
I've actually only just submitted it recently to my two publishers and all, and it was accepted by both.
Oh, that's amazing. So what do you anticipate? Do you have a release date kind of in mind? Have they shared anything? When can we start looking out for it, you think?
I'm hoping sometime next year, hopefully maybe towards the end of next year or just after the summer. I'm hoping that, we'll be able to work out a release time around then.
Okay. And give me the name again for everybody listening.
The War Dog Trail.
War Dog Trail.
And
spelled just like you've got it. WARDAWG Trail.
That's right. Right.
Okay.
And that's my way of my way of signifying that the path of a warfighter is its own trail. It's its own path in life. It's its own journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for sure you know that from life experience, and for those that served with you, and for those that you're still getting to engage with, encounter, and to help recreate. I know every bit of that's true. Listen, I love everything about you. Love what you're doing. Love who you are as a human being. I loved I think it's on your intro to your website, maybe the very first web episodes I watched. It's YouTube videos, everybody. You can watch videos out there and truly get to see the man and get a true sense of who he is. He's as authentic as they come. But something else I loved about you is your love for humankind, right? I love that you said, let me tell you what I don't tolerate. Let me tell you what we won't tolerate in this family, in this organization, right? No racism, no bigotry, and you lay it all out there. And Sergeant War Dog, I'm going to tell you right now, it's been the biggest thing for me that has changed my life, just to be able to look at another human being and know that they are worthy of my time. They're worthy of my attention. They're worthy of my love. They have value. They have dreams. They have goals. And we are far more alike than we are different. And if we can just start looking at each other through those lenses, I think it changes everything. Man, right, just be there for one another, right?
Right on, Jay.
Yeah. Good stuff. Any last words from you, my friend? My brother in arms?
Just for anyone, veterans, please keep your head up and continue to fight day by day. Your survival, suicide is real for veterans, so continue to fight day by day. I'm holding on, you hold on. And for everyone else, please be sure to check me out at sergeantwardogtv.com on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm going to stay tuned in because I told you pre-show, I was picking some stuff up, learning from you as I'm watching those episodes. And I didn't say this earlier. I just feel like I'm going to circle back and bring it in now. Those that have listened to me a while, they know I'm a little bit like a Labrador retriever, Sergeant War Dog. My brain, right? I just pick things up. But so my first 11 years in the Air Force, I was an enlisted guy and was a weapons instructor, small arms, everything from handguns up to the 50 caliber. Right.
Nice.
The MK19.
Yeah.
Mark 19 was a fun one, right? But when you said M249 SAW, squad automatic weapon, I had the pleasure of operationally function checking that, putting it through the rigors when it was first coming out into the armed forces. And
really?
This is somewhere, I don't know, it was mid-90s maybe is kind of what my brain remembers, but belt fed 5.56. So when you said, man, that's what I carried. That's what I carried. I'm like, I don't have your experience with it, but I know that weapon system is impressive.
Yes, it's massive. It's a beast, and I love it. I used to have a love-hate relationship with it, to be honest with you, because
I bet.
I wanted to be one of these little slick, fast-moving SWAT guys with a rifle. But when I got, the M249 and saw how long and cumbersome it was, I was like, oh man, it totally ruined my SWAT dream. But then I fell in love with it. I fell in love with its range, its accuracy. I became a true saw gunner.
Yeah. Let alone all the additional ammo you carry around on you at any given time.
Oh, yes. It requires, So everyone else gets to carry magazines for a rifle, and here you have to have 200 round drums all the time. So at 7 to 8 pounds a piece. So
yeah, it'll get to you. Well, look, the pleasure, the privilege, the honor, Sergeant War Dog, was all mine. Regret that Donna couldn't be here in studio with us today, but I know you two are connected, and man, I'm telling you, deep appreciation, love, and respect for who you are, what you've done, what you're doing for veterans. Love you, man. And if there's ever anything that we can do, that I personally can do for you, I hope you won't hesitate to reach out.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Jay. This has been an amazing time. I had a great time speaking with you and being able to share the mission.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. So for everybody, on behalf of our parent podcast company, Coming Home Well, and on behalf of Donna Hoffmeyer and I, we just want to thank you for tuning in, for listening, for picking up what we're putting down, for connecting with people like Sergeant War Dog, helping support worthwhile causes out there in our communities. And this is certainly one of those. Please connect with him, reach out to him, drop a note, say, hey, I got to listen to your interview, and find out how you can get in and support. He shared earlier, donations certainly appreciated. If you're in the Florida area, maybe there's even some others. But thanks for listening in. Please give us a like. Please give us a follow. Please give us a share. And until next time, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Front Line, a podcast of Coming Home Well. Join us every other Wednesday. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review.